Namaste. Welcome back. We are catching up with Bhagavad Gita. Last week, we saw a quick summary of Shlokas 1 to 10. And today, we will try to see whether we can finish or not, but we will try to summarize Shloka 11 to 25. So the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, traditionally, it is known as Sankhya Yoga. Essentially, Sankhya here means it is not the Sankhyan philosophy of Kapila. It essentially means that it is the wisdom of Atma. Wisdom of Atma means essentially who you are, what you are. That is the goal, that is the theme of this chapter. And up from Shloka 1 to 10, we saw Arjuna's problem. Through Arjuna's problem, we also our problem, how we can relate that problem with ourselves. And then we saw like Krishna smiling and about to talk to Arjuna. That's where we left last week. The whole this chapter, or at least from Shloka 11 to 25, it is essentially what is the permanent solution for transcending the soul. It can be very theoretical, but it is very practical also. So we just need to make sure that we can relate that to our daily life, whatever we are talking here. Because the whole idea here is that Krishna starts talking about his perception on the perpetual suffering. He said that the Panditas, that is how he starts. Arjuna was almost shattering. He was like broken down. Forget Arjuna. This is exactly what we all do. When a situation comes in, we are completely broken down. To that person. So imagine that Krishna is talking to me and you. What is that? He says, there is a way to transcend this sorrow and sufferings. There is a way, because he said, Gatasu nagatasumscha na anushojanti pandita. Those who knows themselves, pandita means the one who knows himself, one who re-identify himself, one who knows himself completely. What we are saying is that you know yourself, because it is the most self-evident. If somebody says that you don't know yourself, that is wrong. That is not what Krishna is saying. Krishna said that you know only partial. Your identity is not complete. Your identity is limited. You don't know yourself completely. If you are 100, you know only 10. The rest 90 you don't know. And if you know that completely, or the more you know yourself, the sufferings will come down. And once you know yourself completely, what happens? You will transcend the suffering. Gatasu nagatasumscha. Even for dead or living, meaning whatever happens in your life, you won't be suffering. This is the big bang. The, the gateway to the freedom is how do you transcend the sorrow? And for transcending the sorrow, the key word is Pandita. Pandita means the one who knows himself. Atma Vishaye Buddhi, the one who knows the Atma. Please don't think Atma as some mystical word. Atma means yourself, self. That's all it means. So, myself, the word Atma means myself. That's it. So, the one who knows myself, not in a limited extent, in that complete extent, he will transcend the suffering. So, that is the first point. So, the whole idea is the grief. You're grieving because you don't know your identity, your limited view of yourself, your limited understanding of yourself. That transcend that and try to understand yourself completely. That will transcend the sorrow. So take a pause and look at the approach Krishna is taking here. There are two ways to teach a subject to a student. One is you don't reveal the end goal, but you'll try to talk about the next steps. And that is very much valid. Sometimes you don't know the end goal. See, right now there is a global uncertainty in the marketplace. So what the big companies and the big strategists do, They say that you don't know your ultimate destination, but you can see the next two steps. So why don't you take that and then pause and try to see the next steps? That is one approach. The next approach is you know the end goal. So first you show that my destination is that peak of that mountain. Then you go take like step by steps. Here the approach taken by Krishna is that he shows that yes, I can give you solutions. I can give you a pep talk. I can give you a motivational speech. I can give you some war strategy. I can help you to win this war. All that can be done, but that is not going to put an end to your sufferings. You may think that money is going to solve the problem. Yes, money is needed, but it is not going to solve all your problem. You think that the relationship is going to solve your problem. Yes, relationship is absolutely needed, but it is not going to solve your problem completely. So what exactly is going to permanently solve your problem is knowing yourself properly. So that is the first point. Grieve not for the transient. And only this can be done when you know yourself completely. So that's the first part. So the next point he said is Shloka 12 and 13. What is the architecture of the human identity? This is very interesting. So we spend a lot of time. We said that the architecture of the human identity, there is a physical body called Sthula Sharira. There is a subtle body called Sukshma Sharira. There is a causal body called Karna Sharira. And there is consciousness, Atma. Forget about the Karna Sharira. It is not going to affect you at all. So, physical body, subtle body, causal body. Physical body is whatever you can touch, feel, it is physical. So, your sense organs, your brain, a lot of people think that the brain is subtle body. No, the brain is physical body. The neurons are physical body. Your heart is physical body. Your nervous system is physical body. The best example to consider the physical and the subtle matter is hardware and software. That's it. So this is the physical body. And when somebody dies, what exactly is dying? It is the physical body. We took the example of an iPhone. When you change the iPhone, what happens? The old phone may die, but something in that phone got transmigrated into a new phone. So just like that, the subtle body of that phone, I can say that it got transmigrated into new phone. So while the hardware is absolute must have for me to function in the world, what exactly gives the personality? What exactly makes that phone unique? Why my phone is different from your phone? It is not because of the hardware. Both might be iPhone 17, but the app I install, the desktop and the wallpaper I have, the applications I have, why I use my phone, that is what is giving the personality for the phone. Exactly like that. It is the subtle body that gives the personality to all the individual. And then what is consciousness? Consciousness is neither the physical body nor the subtle body. So when the physical life, when somebody's life comes to an end, what is happening? We spend a lot of time on this particular topic. The physical body will come to an end. The subtle body will transmigrate. What happens to the consciousness? Nothing. Consciousness is like electricity, which enlivens. Because of its presence, the physical body and subtle body functions. But it has its own identity beyond the physical body and the subtle body. And we try to clarify here one point. The consciousness we talk in Vedanta is not exactly the consciousness the neuroscientist or the science talks. The science talks the consciousness as an attribute of the body, the brain, where Vedanta sees that as a something, an independent entity. And the good thing is that the science is also postulating that with the new discoveries, especially with the hard problem of consciousness. This is what the debate is happening. So we talked all these points earlier. So what happens to the physical body? It will die. What happens to the subtle body? It will transmigrate. What happens to the Atma? It will neither move because Atma doesn't travel everywhere, anywhere. So this clarification is very much needed. And when you use the word soul, be mindful. Soul is not Atma. Even if you can use the word soul, it has to be for the subtle body. It's very important what you speak and what you not speak. If you use the word soul, don't put Atma's attribute as Atma's characteristics for the soul. That is not correct. So again, better to you avoid the word soul, but sometimes we may have, because of the language constraints, we may have to use it. But if at all you use it only for the subtle body, not for the Atma, because Atma is not the soul. And again, we had a lot of discussion from where the word soul came in. It's a Christian biblical concept. It has a very different meaning. And that is why we cannot equate the soul equal to Atma or consciousness. Okay. So in Shloka 12, there was a beautiful double negative. There never was a time when I did not exist, nor you. When I did not exist, nor you, nor there will be a time when we cease to be. Shloka 12. Past, present, future. What exactly he is referring to when he say I? Is that physical body? Is that subtle body? Is that consciousness or Atma? He is shifting because he said, the one who knows completely himself. So right now, my identity might be with physical body and to a certain extent, little bit subtle body. That's it. When you transcend your identity, when you go, when you expand your awareness, when you say all these words are very, very tricky. When you say expand your awareness means your identity is redefined. That's it. Your identity is expanded from the limited body, physical body to subtle body to Atma. So when you identify yourself with Atma, there was not a time the Atma was not there. There was not a time when the Atma will not be there. That is very clear. We have always existed. So the next point is, like we talked about, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Atma, and then understanding this through the modern lens. We talked about the hardware, software, electricity. We talked about this. I just created the slides as a handout so you can read it if you haven't understood. That's why. We don't need to go through all these things. Okay. Now, practical resilience. So, if Atma is eternal, then why am I suffering? Like a small change in the climate makes me upset. Like if the taste of the food is not good, I get upset. If the coffee is too hot, I get upset. Some people not say that. So, what makes me upset? Krishna tells, Matra sparshastu kaudeya, shitoshna sukha dukkada, agama paino anintya tvam tidikshasva bharata. So whenever the sense organs come to contact with sense objects, yes, your identity is eternal, but at this point of time, you are living through your physical body and subtle body, and you cannot ignore that. So you have to pay your mortgage, you have to take care of your child, you have to bear the pain of your body. Remember the other day we talked about two arrows, pain and suffering. So that first arrow is inevitable as long as you live in the body. So when the body and the mind and the intellect interacts with various sense organs, it creates an experience of heat or cold. It creates an experience of happiness, unhappiness, pleasure and pain. And Krishna defines them as like agama paino anityaha. They continuously comes and go. And anityaha, impermanent. This is the problem. Tvam titikshasva bharata. So, like, there is a beautiful, this is the diagram. So, pleasure, pain. So, you have to bear that endurance, not by cursing everybody, but through the understanding. There is pain and pleasure. That is the nature of the life. If you think that there is a life tomorrow without any pain, that is not going to be possible. As long Swami Chinmayananda used to say, if you step in the water and complaining that your leg got wet, what can I say? So you have a body and you are living in this world, pain, it's unhappiness, everything is guaranteed. There is not a single life. Rama's life, my God, when I was going through this Ramayana for our Ramayana Odyssey, my God, the pain he has to go through, the problems he has to face, unbelievable. Look at Krishna's life, the pain, suffering, and no, pain and the challenges he has to go through. Look at Jesus, look at every master, look at Buddha, everyone has to go through. So, Sahanam Sarvadukhanam Apradikara Purvakam Chinta Vilapa Sahitam Sa Titiksha Nivartate. Shankaracharya defines Titiksha in the Viveka. So this is another thing. So imagine how Krishna is presenting. He gives your true identity, and then he tells, like, if that is your true identity, what exactly explains your day-to-day life, and what should be your attitude towards that day-to-day experience. Very systematically for. So the next one is, he say, so amrtatvaya kalpade, the steady mind, the balanced mind in pleasure and pain, the equanimity, that is defined as yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the ability to stay. It's not that you won't be elated or a little bit depressed, but within a controlled limit. That's it. So equanimity is not an emotional numbness. It is the profound resilience rooted in the knowledge. This is what is Yam hinam vyatayantede purusham purushashapha samadukha sukham tiram so amrutatvaya kalpati. Then he go to the nature of Atma. He Ubhayorapi drishtondas tanayor tattvadarshi. He defines two terminologies here, Sat and Asat. Satyam, Mithya. He said, Sat. Sat means the absolute. Trikala abadidam satyam. That is what the definition. That which is not affected by time. It is there in the past, it is there in the present, it is there in the future. So apply that definitions to anything you know. Even if you take the sun and the moon and the star, there was a time it was not there. And there will be a time it won't be there. It could be billions of years. That doesn't matter. Trikala abadidam means it is completely independent of time. And that is what it is. And this is known as Sat. Then Asat is what? It has a relative existence. Mithya. Mithya is not lack of anything, right? Mithya has an existence. It has a relative existence. For a certain period of time, it has an existence. The biggest mistake is people try to compare the rope and snake example and say that snake is mithya. Snake is not mithya. Snake is tuchya. There is third terminology. Tuchya means it exists only in my mind, not outside at all. So there are three orders of reality. If I go to the actual Vedantic terminology, it is known as Paramarthika Satyam, Vyavaharika Satyam, Pradibhasika Satyam. These are the three orders. Paramarthika Satyam means it is always there. Vyavaharika Satyam or empirical reality or relative reality means it is there. There is a beginning, it exists for some time, and it terminates at the some time. In our book, we have given the definition also from Mandukya Karika. It was not there in the past, it is there in the present, it will be there in the future. So if you take my body, like 100 years back, it was not there. 100 years from now, it is not going to be there. So it was not there in the past, it exists for some time, and it goes back. That is mithya. Now, like, let's say that if I see a snake in a rope, is there any existence for the snake outside of me? No. It says, Srishti eva drishti, drishti eva srishti. If I see the rope as a rope, it is known as Srishti Eva Drishti. It exists, therefore I see it. What is the next one in the Vedanta? I see it, therefore for me it exists. That is the definition of Pradipasika Satyam. Pradipasika Satyam means it has never an existence. It exists only in my mind. That is Pradipasika Satyam. So the world you see is Mithya. The truth behind that world is Satyam. And whatever you superimposes on the world is Tuchya. So understand these three terminologies: Satyam, Mithya, and Tuchya. Mandukya Upanishad gives a detailed analysis of this. If anybody wants to go, Gaudapada Karika of Mandukya Upanishad gives a lot of analysis, and we quoted even the Mandukya Karika in the commentary. So, what is the definition of Sat and Asat? There is a few pointers. Definition of Sat: unchanging, eternal truth; transient, ever changing. That is another point. So that's a very interesting point. Sat is not just subjected to destruction or beginning, it won't change. Whereas Mithya, it has a beginning, it has a growth, it is subjected to change. Then dependency. Sat is independent of, Sat doesn't dependent upon anything for its existence. Right? Nimitta Upadana Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karma. That is how it is defined. There is no dependence. So if you take a pot, it dependent upon the clay for its existence. If I take my body, it depends upon the elements of the universe, and that elements of the universe dependent upon something else, something else, something else. Finally, it comes back to something. That is the fundamental truth. The third point is, yeah, clay and pot is the example, and the scope is the entire universe, Brahman or Atma, whereas the scope of the Asat is body, mind, objects of the universe. This is what another point. Then discerning the real from the unreal. So we talked about this. Then the next point is, what are all the nature of this Atma? So Krishna said that you are that Satyam. Essentially, your true identity is that Satyam. Everything else is temporary identity. So he gives Ajaha, unborn. It is never born. Avyaya, immutable. It is changeless. Normally, all the objects are subjected to change. Asti, Jayate, Varthade, Viparinamate, Apachyate, Pranashyate. Birth, growth, uh, like a metamorphosis, like decay, death, all this is characteristics of every object that is not subjected to Atma. Aprameya. Aprameya means you cannot understand or perceive through your ordinary means of knowledge. It's very difficult. Then Nityaha, it is eternal. Sarvagataha, all pervading. Avikaryata, like unchangeable. These are some of the definitions given from 17 to 25. And it is free from all the sixfold modification. Asti, existence. Jayate, birth. Varthate, growth. Viparinamate, transformation. Apakshiyate, decay. Vinashyati, it is the death. So Atma transcends the sixfold modification. And it is immune to all the means of destruction. So here Krishna tells, Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dakati pavaha. All that he tells. So Atma, this is like immune to that. And Atma is neither the doer nor the receiver. He who thinks he kills or killed, he does not understand the self. Krishna tells in this shloka, because the killing or the agency and the objectification comes at the body level. And then one more point. What exactly happens at the death? It is changing the cloth. Who changed the cloth? Your subtle body changes the cloth. The cloth is physical body and the subtle body changes. And what happens to Atma? Nothing. Atma is witness. So this was a famous shloka. If you remember, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Navani Grishnati Naroparani. Tatha Sharirani Vihaya Nirnani Anyani Samyani Navani Dehi. So we covered that also. Then, so this is the summary or the reflection. So this is the nice slide. So life in the mortal view, driven by the perpetual fear of death and loss, whereas over-identified with the temporary roles, titles, and possessions, and anxious and reactive in the face of inevitable changes, views life as finite. Um, Whereas when you expand your awareness, you accept body's transient nature without desperation, like engages fee world dynamically with a balanced detachment, faces challenges with courage, endurance, titiksha, and equanimity, and recognize the eternal unifying essence in all existence. This is the summary. And the takeaways. So from the shloka 11 to 25, first, understand Krishna is giving the highest picture first. Ultimate goal is defined as moksha or understanding yourself. And then the second point is you are not the body, you are the Atma. And what is the nature of that Atma? Sat. And Sat is the only reality. And how should I live the life? With titiksha. These are the four takeaways. So, with that, let me hand over to Avanti for her comment.
Namaskar. And welcome aboard back on the Gita Odyssey. So we thought about it so much, why to name this an Odyssey, because it's a journey. You know what's an Odyssey, right? It's a long journey. And going through the Gita is what helps take us through the journey of life. So as promised, we're doing the quick recap of chapter 2. I don't see all the paces, but I assume I know there are one or two new ones for sure. But even for the rest of us who've done the earlier section, this is a good revision. Even for us, it's when he was just talking, Rajeshji, I was just reliving all the times when we were writing the book and, you know, putting these classes together and all that. It's always a good refresher. We don't get it in the first go. So chapter 2, as we have seen, it is the, before I go into this, I'd like to advise 2 or 3 things. Okay? Number 1 is, please have the book. It doesn't matter whether you have the Kindle version or you have the actual book. My recommendation always is to have an actual book. I just feel a material book is like materializing Krishna in front of you. So first and foremost, have a book. And second thing is that there's been a long gap between when we left that, you know, when we left the chapter and came. Please, if you have the time, try and go through the recordings, especially for the new ones. It's all on YouTube. We can send you the list. Go through the recordings, because each of these things that we are quickly recapping now, we have done in great detail. Imagine on each verse, we've spent an hour or more. They're taking it really, really slow. So quick recap will not give you that essence in its full. And it's very important to understand all of chapter 1, which for also there is a book, and these first 25 verses. So please go through it right away after class. We'll send you the YouTube list again. Whenever you have time. Now that we are with you, it's fine when you're walking, when you're cooking, just play it in the background. So something sits inside. So have that. Second most important thing is, we keep saying spirituality is not a part-time pastime. You have to form a relationship with Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna tells Arjuna several times, I'm revealing this supreme secret to you because you are dear to me. You are my friend. And there are many, many other qualities as to why Arjuna was fit to receive this knowledge. So we have to, it behooves us to form a relationship with the Gita. It's fantastic that we are coming for class once a week. And I'm sure some of you all are doing other classes as well. Perhaps not even with Project Self, even outside. But please, in the week, at least once or twice, I would say thrice, if you can pick up the book and just read through whatever shlokas we have finished, it's going to ease you in forming that connection with what is written, what is being said, and your own understanding. So please try and do that as homework. Now, if you've completed 1 to 25, before next week, try and read through the entire book. It's written very well. We've taken great pains to write it in a way that is fun and nice to read, not like a study book or very abstract language that we can't understand. So please try and read it. Form your connection with Gita. The more connection you form, the better these verses will land. And when they land, my God, your life will start changing. You'll see paradigm shifts. So that is what I want to say. Chapter 2. We've all seen, we know it, that it's the second longest chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, comprising of 72 verses. The longest is the final chapter, rightfully so, which has 78 verses. Again, in the book, we have described in great detail why it is called Sankhya Yoga. A literal, just a loose translation would be the knowledge of the self. But it is expounded in great detail, and we've gone to the length and breadth of explaining why Sankhya. Please go through that. The two reasons why this particular chapter is hailed as all important. Number one reason is, as we saw last week, there is a complete surrender of Arjuna to Krishna. Please understand in verse number 7, where he said, when he says, I totally am confused. I give myself unto you. Please understand, without that complete surrender in our language, without that complete commitment to understand the Gita, to be honest about our lives in the background of the Gita, there is no way this life transforming greatest secret, greatest knowledge of the world is going to impact our lives. So there has to be a complete commitment, which we saw in in verse 7 of chapter 2, from Arjuna to Krishna. That is the commitment that we have to generate within our heart towards the Gita. So that is one of the reasons why this chapter is hailed as all important, because here is where the surrender becomes complete. And second reason, as we've said it multiple times in our earlier sessions, it is a complete overview of the Gita. So in chapter 2, so many times, many commentators would say, chapter 2 is enough to tell you the gist of the Gita. You'll realize it's not. And we all realize, I'm sure many of us have gone through the Gita several times before, and we're still here studying chapter 2. So it's not enough. We have to have all the chapters in place to understand the full import of the Gita, but it gives you a full overview. So it's like an index chapter. This also we've explained in the book. Now you'll say the biggest question that comes of chapter 2 is why. We have seen how Arjuna was. He was fallen on the chariot. His mouth was dry, his hands were trembling, his knees were wobbling, he was completely confused. His bow and arrow had fallen off from his hand. And this is how he's sitting on the battlefield. And Krishna is telling him about the eternal nature of Atma and all of these high funda things, which he has no mindset to even absorb, let alone implement. So why? Why? You have to, everything when you see in the Gita, please question why. Pranipatena prashnena. Why is he doing this? So as Rajeshi brought it to the thing, there are two reasons. One is that we've explained this in the book. There are two ways of unfolding knowledge. One is giving the ultimate destination first, and one is taking step by step. Let me assure you, Gita uses both. So in chapter 2, Krishna begins with that, giving that ultimate destination. Now, this will not be very alien to any of your understanding. For an athlete, what is the biggest motivation for an Olympic runner? What is the biggest motivation? It's so hard when they're running. What is the motivation? Anybody? Just scream out, unmute and say, what would be the motivation for an athlete during a race when they are dying? What would be the motivation?
To win.
No, but what is the motivation? Palpable motivation in front of them.
Just to reach the end goal.
Correct, but it's just one word. What are they seeing?
The trophy.
Thank you. Who said that? Whoever said that, thank you. The trophy. So Krishna has placed that trophy. And trust me, the more and more you start playing with these qualities of the Atma, meditating on them, trying to manifest them, that trophy becomes more and more reachable. So the human life, we have gone through innumerable yonis to get even here, and they may be innumerable more. What is the only prize that could attract us once we are interested? Is that absolute freedom? Is that absolute moksha? So he gives Arjuna that final goal, and then step by step he starts taking him. The second biggest reason is that, see, Arjuna has known Krishna. He knows Krishna is special. He's seen, of course, they all know that Krishna has these godly qualities and all. But Krishna has never behaved like full what he has behaved in the Gita with Vishwarupa Darshana and all that. He's not done that before in full, view. So to establish his authority, he has given him concepts that are not even in his imagination. There's this very famous thing. See, when people know you, the greatest spiritual leaders are taken most lightly by their family members. There's this story about Wayne Dyer. Apparently, you all know Wayne Dyer, very famous man, very famous in the US especially. He's written multiple self-help books and all of that. So Wayne Dyer, he apparently got a prize, second most spiritually influential by the Time magazine or something, influential entity on earth. They have it every year or every few years or whatever, second only to the Pope. Okay, he was awarded that prize, that he was most spiritually influential in the world. And as soon as that was announced, people started calling home. And he was not at home, and his wife picked up. And somebody just blurted out, "Oh, congratulations, congratulations. Do you know Wayne has been awarded this prize?" And she laughed and she said, "Wayne? Who? My Wayne?" Because for her, she knows all his, his faults, his flaws, his all of that. She doesn't take him as seriously like, oh, what he's doing for the world. So that authority has to be established for anybody to start understanding you. Very, very important. So Krishna uses that, the highest philosophy that will completely boggle Arjuna's mind to get him interested, to pick him up from that stupor. Otherwise, if Krishna was just saying, yes, yes, I know, how is he going to bring about that transformation? So these are the two reasons why he pitches it up. One is to show him that there is a goal which you can slowly reach. And second is, look, it's coming from phenomenal authority. When he starts talking about how that knowledge has come down in chapter 4, we are all left completely amazed and dazed. Now, if we go verse by verse, verse number 1, very quick review. Verse number 1. Sanjaya starts. Please understand, Sanjaya is supposed to be and is absolutely the unbiased witness in this thing. He is just a narrator. He's not supposed to take sides. And even Atma, Paramatma never takes sides. They are just enlivening whatever is there. If a terrorist wants to use Atmic power to be a terrorist, so be it. If a saint wants to use Atmic power to be a saint, so be it. There's no partiality. But the whole leela of this earth life, the whole game of this earth life is what? To move towards sattva, to move towards purity. So when you start moving towards purity, you will feel as if Bhagwan mere saath hai. God is with me. It's very strange. Repeatedly, the Shastras are saying Bhagwan doesn't take sides, is not favoring anybody. But when you start invoking that power towards sattva, you will feel God's grace manifesting in your life. You will feel as though some part of you, some mighty part of you has taken the driver's seat. So with Sanjaya, he's not supposed to take sides. He's just supposed to narrate. What is his duty here? He's just supposed to narrate. But if you see how dramatic he's being in his narration, even in the first verse, I'm not going to go over it because there's no time. Read it again as homework. The way he says it, consistently he is trying to awaken Dhritarashtra's conscience. Please read the underlying tone of how Sanjaya speaks to Dhritarashtra without taking sides, but absolutely trumpeting one side. So he's constantly trying to awaken his conscience. Even in our life, there is a Sanjaya within us that is constantly trying to awaken our conscience. It's a soft voice. Dhritarashtra's blindness overpowers Sanjaya's, all of his nudges. Same thing happens with us. Our blindness, our ignorance, our attachment to the world completely mutes that voice within us. But the more and more you start listening to that voice, the more and more you become equipped to take the right decisions in life. Then in verse number 2, please, this also you need to go back to again when Krishna calls Arjuna an-Aryan. Okay? Please note, Bhagavad Gita is not talking about any races. We've written this very, very clearly. all of us, especially in this panel, are Aryan. Why are we Aryan? A, because we are born human, and B, because we are with this knowledge. So wherever in our life we are stuck and we do not consciously use the knowledge, we are Anaryan. So whenever we are not able to overcome any of our battles, any of our, struggles in life, and we don't get this Bhagavad Gita objectivity into the picture, just think of Krishna saying, how Aryan of you, how un-Aryan of you. How can you do this? It's a disgrace to being human. And okay, most human beings live without the knowledge. But for somebody who has touched the Gita, as long as we have, or any other scripture, it is un-Aryan for us to melt before what is happening in front of us. He also says you will not get fame here or you will not get heaven. Please understand, this is another very key thing to understand. By not doing what we are supposed to do because of our attachments, we are not going to enjoy any peace on earth, and we are definitely not going to get our karmic brownie points. Now, as we go along the Gita, we will have many reflections where you will be able to see, we will ask questions where you will be seeing where you are struggling, where you independently are struggling. My struggles are not the same as yours, but you will notice your struggles. Over there, you see when you apply the Gita knowledge, which will be hard because it's going to ask you to do something completely contradictory to which you're used to what you're used to doing. When you start applying that, you will start getting worldly fame, which is basically worldly peace, and you are collecting good karma or accruing no karma for what is to come next. Then verse number 3 is a tight slap on the face. Please go through the recordings. We explain this verse so well, where Krishna calls Arjuna unmanly. It doesn't mean man, it means woman or man. You are not fit to be of any gender. Forget a man if you are not able to overcome the problems of life. So when he uses that word unmanly, imagine in Hindi movies, olden days, they used to say, Mard ka beta hai, ya mard ho to aa jao bahar. They used to say those things. Imagine for a man of Arjuna's caliber, who is the warrior, indomitable warrior, to be said, you're not even a man. Why are you behaving not like a man? The greatest insult. It's a tight slap on the face. We discussed this in class. When a child or when even an adult is having a massive tantrum in front of you, the only way to stop that child in that track is to give it a tight slap across the face. This was the compassionate slap of Krishna to wake Arjuna up, like, stop acting. An insult is the greatest way of saying, you stupid. Throughout, you will see this mudha mata, like colossal fool, stupid. These words, Krishna uses again and again. It's not to denounce us as seekers or as human beings. It's to tell us of our potential. It's to remind us of our potential. When we tell our child, how stupid can you be? Stop being so silly. Do we mean our child is silly? No. What we're trying to say is, look at your potential. Your potential is to be Purusha Sarshava, the highest among all beings. And you're behaving like not even like a man. So that is a tight slap. Verse number 4, very, very endearing verse. I love this verse. This is the human predicament. Please go through the commentary. This is each of our predicaments. What does Arjuna say over here? He addresses Krishna by 2 words, Madhusudhana and Arisudhana. What are these? Basically, they're demons, Madhu and Ari, who Krishna kills. And he asks Krishna, he says, you who kill demons, Krishna, what are you asking me to do? You are asking me to kill not only my loved ones. Okay, I love them. There is attachment. But those who are worthy for worship, my guru, my grandfather, who stand on the highest ideals imaginable. So very, very endearing. And if you read it right, you'll understand wherever you're stuck in life, this is it. The bane of attachment, the bane of confusion. Very important to understand this. Verse number 5, he goes on to say that even if I win this war, even if I get heaven and earth or whatever it is, all of it will be stained with blood. Don't we all feel this guilt, constant guilt of doing the right thing? Doing the right thing involves many people being unhappy, right or wrong. Saying the right thing, you cannot be a people pleaser all your life. Lady Diana, all of you all know Lady Diana, she had said in an interview once, when I wake up and I don't find people hating me, I know I'm on the wrong track. To stand on your truth, to stand authentic, to say the right thing, to do how hypocritical we are in the world, just to be liked, just to not feel guilty. But to stand in truth is the hardest thing to do, the hardest thing to do. So he says that I will not be able to enjoy any of this if I've killed all of them. And he says something ridiculous. It's okay to live on alms. I live on alms. How many times have we done it? We have compromised ourselves, taken up a begging bowl to not do the right thing, not to, whether it's at work, whether it's in relationships. What is this battered women? I worked a lot in battered women shelters when I was in Australia. What is this whole syndrome? The right thing is to get up and leave, but they will stay. How can I? He's my husband. How can I leave my children? So these are the questions the Gita asks, not about fighting any battle on the battlefield. So he says it's better to live on alms, completely wrong, because this is misunderstood spirituality. Spirituality will never make a doormat out of a person. Never ever. Please understand that. And please ask these questions in relation to your own life, and we can make it very clear to you. Where should we speak and where should we keep quiet? Then verse number, and very interesting thing. When when Arjuna says to Krishna, how can I kill all these things, or all these people in front of me? I love them. Krishna turns around and asks Arjuna, not in the Gita, but there's a conversation in the Mahabharata. He says, if they were your people, Arjuna, think, would they be standing in front of you? Ya paschati, sa paschati. If you get this dialogue, you will understand what this means. If they were your people, and in our thing, if they were on the right side of the battle, would they be standing in front of you on the wrong side of the battle? Now, nobody's standing in front of us in any battle, but what we are to take away from this particular thing is that we should not allow anything that takes us away from our truth to become our attachment and become incapable of addressing it, tackling it, fighting it if it were, and transcending it. That's important to understand. Then verse number 6, he begins to understand. Arjuna slowly begins to understand the whole gist of it. He understands his own confusion. And he first time in this entire, all this time he was very sure of the rubbish he was speaking. Now he starts saying, okay, I'm confused. I don't know. I'm so surprised. I'm hesitating to kill them, but they stand without any shame in front of me to kill all of us. What is this? I don't know what is the right thing to do. When we start understanding our confusion, answers become clear. Verse number 7. That is the most celebrated verse in chapter 2. He completely surrenders. Arjuna completely surrenders to Krishna. Two things that we learn from this verse, very important 2 lessons. Go back to the recording. Number 1 is Krishna's silence. Now that we have knowledge, we start advising everybody around us. And in the bargain, you'll see as you go deeper and deeper in spirituality, you'll be standing alone because nobody wants to listen to your wisdom. Only wisdom can be given when it is asked. For 1 chapter and 10 verses, Krishna has shut up. He is Swayam Narayana with all the knowledge. But until he's begged for wisdom, please tell me, please help me. So when you are seeing your children err, when you're seeing advice is one thing, but to get after them, please listen, I'm right, is a wrong strategy. You're going to alienate people. So he keeps quiet. That's the first lesson. And second lesson, of course, without surrender, without saying, I do not know, please help me. It is not possible for you to go on the right path in your life, to get the right knowledge. It is very, very important to understand this path. Last class, you all discussed, Rajesh went in great detail, and I loved that bit of mentors, how it's important to have mentors to talk to and all that. Please understand one thing. Let your mentors be a good admixture of the ones that pat your back and the ones that slap your face. If you are only surrounding with your people who say, Jai Maharaj, whatever you're doing is fantastic, you're not going to grow. You need some solid mirrors, loved ones in front of you who know to call a spade, who know to show you where are you going wrong. The toughest gurus have created the spiritual legends of the world. So please make sure that the mentors that you surrender to have the capacity to stand in truth and not just pad your ego. The whole process of spirituality is to get rid of the ego. if we keep going to gurus who keep saying, oh, wow, you're so wonderful, fantastic, fantastic, yes, 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 you're not going to go anywhere. Somebody who can tell you off, that is the person who will transform you. So that is very, very important to understand that. Then the next verse number 8, again, a huge predicament of Arjuna, where he says, this grief is too much. All of us can identify with this. It's intense, deep grief. What are attachments? We cannot get over them, no matter what we get in life. Where we are attached and where that attachment gets hit, it is not possible to overcome. Only with time, with knowledge, with faith will you be able to transcend those griefs. So Arjuna is just revealing one of his main predicaments. Verse 9 is where he puts down his bow and he says, I will not fight. Now, remember when I said at the start of this, confusion, repeated confusion. You cannot become sinner to saint overnight. It takes lifetimes for us to even come to this much understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. Forget a few classes. What has happened in verse number 7? Arjuna has surrendered, right? All of you all know in verse number 7, Arjuna has surrendered fully. I am ready to do what you are going to say. You tell me what you will say. Immediately 2 verses later, 9th, he says, I will not fight. So every time we have a strong belief in something we are going to do, the mind will pop up and give that doubt. That is why it is consistency in the study that is going to be the only saving grace in our life. Nothing else can save us. And that is why, in spite of surrendering in chapter 2, verse 7, only in chapter 18 does Arjuna confidently declare, all my moha has been destroyed. I will do your bidding. I will fight. So I will not fight in chapter 2 after surrendering to, yes, I have understood what you're saying. I will fight. It's taken 18 chapters. So no, you cannot read chapter 2 and say, I've got it all. Slowly, slowly, you have to, whether you are seasick or not, you have to be on this voyage on the Gita Odyssey with us till we finish it to be able to understand it fully. Okay. Then verse number 10, Krishna smiles. Beautifully, we've explained this. Please go through the recordings, why he smiles. You'll see Arjuna is dying on that chariot and Krishna is smiling. 2 reasons Krishna smiles. The first reason is because of his own samatvam. Very big lesson for us. When everything is falling apart around us, whether it is our children, whether it is our spouse, whether it is the teams that we are managing at work, the more integrated we are, the more samatvam we have within us, which can only come from spiritual practice. All 3 paths: karma, good karma, bhakti, utmost devotion, and consistent intake of knowledge. Only that will bring you to samatvam within you. The more samatvam you hold, you will be able to smile when everybody else is falling apart around you. And that smile, without you doing anything, will be enough to lift them up. This I can promise from the bottom of my heart. When somebody passes away, we go there and we try to console that person. You tell me, is it possible to console that person? Whatever you say, forget passes away, any great loss in a person's life, we try verbally to console that person. Is it possible? Are they consoled? What will be of greater effect is presence, full presence, just sitting there in body. And that presence, to be able to hold space, will come, I promise you, from deep, concerted spiritual sadhana. And for that, we have to commit. We have to be in that verse 7 mentality. I surrender to this knowledge, to this practice, to everything that is being said, and I will try to come to that myself. The greatest gift you can give to anybody in this world is your own enlightenment in grades, in degrees. So very important. That is why he smiles, is his samatvam. And second thing is because he knows why, what the problem is. He has the solution. You've been struggling with some symptoms for such a long time and you're imagining the worst, and you go through a battery of tests and then the doctor calls you for a review and you are entering sweating and, really so stressed, and the doctor opens the door smiling. And you're like, I'm like in such a predicament, and you're smiling. Why? Because the doctor has the diagnosis, he knows the prognosis, he knows the treatment. So he's smiling. So very important to understand that. We will stop here. I'm sorry I couldn't attend last class, but for me to recap, I had to go from the first to where we've stopped. The rest 11 verses, I'll send in bite-sized notes in the Q&A, so that next class we can jump into a fresh, from 26 onwards, start the Gita again. But in the meanwhile, please, 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 please read, especially the newbies who weren't with us so far. I really implore you to read 1 to 25 in the book. Get the book either on Kindle or in paper. Please bring it in print. I really request you to bring it in print and read it. You will enjoy it very thoroughly, even the way it's laid out. So quickly before we stop, just a quick closing prayer. So just sitting up straight for a moment, take a deep breath in through your nose, carry it to the center of your brow, hold it here to assimilate everything that you have heard. And from here, Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Truly, may this knowledge take us from that asat to sat that we have been discussing.